My name's Bryan Mason. I am here at Sundance Film Festival 2019, and I'm here because I shot and edited a film called Animals, which is a feature drama set in Dublin. So we shot in Dublin this time last year, and it's based on a book of the same name by an author named Emma Jane Unsworth. And the premise of the film, the story is about a female friendship. These two friends have been friends for like a decade, partying and living the life through Dublin, full of high ideals and hedonism. And it kind of tracks the end of their relationship, or when things start to change, when one of them is like, she's a writer, but she's not actually spending time writing. She's spending a lot of time partying and living the life, and kind of gets to the point where she's like, oh, if I want to be the thing I say I am, I need to spend time doing it. And so it kind of calls into question their friendship, because it's like, oh, is it going to be the end of their friendship or not? And it's it's a lot of fun, and it's a great book, and yeah, we're stoked to be premiering here at Sundance. Shooting and editing, I'm probably nearly 2 decades into working in that way, so I'm quite used to being on set and shooting a film, certainly with a mind to the edit and knowing what we'll need. But at the same time, you definitely do go into like cinematography headspace and go, okay, let's make this shot look good, and just all the kind of things you need to do to make a film work visually. But I guess there are many good things, like stepping into the edit suite is amazing, because you already know the footage, you already know what you're going for, so you're already on a journey of telling the story, and then you kind of just continue that journey. So on projects I work in this capacity, I feel like you end up with a very strong collaboration between the director, because you're in pre-production together, you're on set together, and then you're all the way through post together. So it's, that connection is really strong, and I find that satisfying and exciting. I guess as a shooter, one of the good things being the editor and knowing you're going in to cut the footage, when you get pressed for time, which you almost always do on set, because your schedules are tight, the minimum of what you need to make a scene work in the edit, which is not always the way you shoot by any means, but when things get pushed, you can go, oh, well, look, I know we've got this shot, we've got that shot, we just actually need a reverse on that, and minimum, we can cut the scene with that. So it kind of really helps in terms, which I think you have to have your head around a little bit as a DP anyway, but I certainly can't blame anyone in the edit suite if what we need isn't there. It's just like, well, I didn't shoot that, so there you go. And that feedback loop of like going in and cutting projects which you've shot, it's a really great learning tool for shooting, because the things, the building blocks you need to get on set going into the edit. So on this project, we took my assistant editor with us from Australia, and he was getting rushes out, and he was doing some assembly work while we were shooting, which was really valuable, because sometimes you're moving at a pace and you come out of a day and you're like, whoa, I don't know if we got that moment. Did we get that story beat there? And being able to go into his suite in the morning before we'd started the shoot and look at the rushes from the day before, it was valuable. So you kind of do have that feedback loop where you're like, okay, I mean, I wasn't doing any editing work during the shoot because it was too busy, but having someone there that you trust, that you can kind of look at the footage and go, oh yeah, okay, we did get that, or actually we didn't get that, so let's pick up this shot and then we'll have that scene, was really valuable. On this film, the director is my partner, Sophie Hyde, and she was one of the producers of the film as well. And as a director, Sophie is very much involved in the edit, so she's in the whole time with me, which is great. I mean, probably the first 2 weeks she was traveling at other festivals, so I made a start, and then from the time she landed back in Australia from being in Dublin, we just ran at the edit. We probably cut for 3 months, a little over 3 months. And yeah, it was great. It was full time, and our edit suite's in our backyard, so we made a 2-room studio there, which is really good. So our kid goes to the school just across the road, and then we have the edit suite in the backyard. So for a good 3 or 4 months a year, I'm just at home editing. But it's good. I mean, and we work together a lot, and I think we've shot a lot of documentary stuff over the years. So the first couple of projects I came to Sundance with were feature docs, one I shot and edited, another one I just edited. And then we made a film called 52 Tuesdays together, which was set and shot every Tuesday every week for a year. and that was a really interesting one because we were shooting and editing as we went the whole year. So there's a really interesting kind of feedback loop that was going on there. And then into animals. So yeah, we've got a long working history together. So we know, like, I know what her sort of, what she likes and how she likes a scene to come together. And because we come from that documentary background, I think we're very comfortable looking at rushes as not necessarily for what they were shot for. So yes, you look at them to go into the scenes you've shot them for, of course, but then it's like, well, yeah, but what else could we use that moment for? This is a great moment where the actor's just looking out the window just before we call action, and it's only 3 seconds, but what could we use that 3 seconds for? And so Sophie's really open to do that stuff. So actually in the process of the edit for this film, we found a lot of stuff which was unscripted, which became really great sequences in the film just because they were like these great moments that, like, the two leads were just we're long lens and they're just talking to each other in between setups, and I just buttoned on, got a little bit, and that's like, you know, and there's this opening montage in the film, and you know, that's right there, and we just used it, and it's, yeah, we do that a lot. So just try and, you know, stay open to what the footage is you have and make the best thing you can. So this film we shot on a Arri Alexa Mini for a number of reasons. I really like the way the Alexa handles mixed color temperatures. Like, it really, it handles it really well. And we were shooting, a lot of the film is set in the night. So at night in Dublin, bars, clubs, alleyways, their dilapidated old grand apartment. So having a small camera package was excellent for that. So we could keep mobile and move. And then we shot with Panavision P Vintage lenses, which are really fast. Like the slowest lens we had in the kit was 1.5. So, you know, they're super fast lenses, which meant we didn't have to have a huge lighting package because we didn't have a lot of time. Like, the schedule was pretty tight. So it meant we could find locations that already had good available light and then augment that, you know, cut one, put another light in. But it meant we could move very fast. And so it kind of ended up being a really great package for the film in terms of camera and lenses. I moved to Premiere about 7 years ago now, and I love it. It's great. It's a great system, and every iteration, every update, every kind of new version that comes out, it keeps getting better and stronger. And the reason I moved to Premiere initially was I actually learnt on Premiere in 2004, 2003, kind of the really early version, and then moved across to Final Cut Pro and Avid and different systems. But then I've come back to Premiere, and I've been loving it because it integrates so well with After Effects and Photoshop and all the other Adobe products. But the reason I came back to it was a film called Sam Klemke's Time Machine, which is a feature doc that we had here at Sundance 2014, I think it was 2014. And it was about a guy who had documented his whole life from 1977. Like, every year he would film himself and like the first vlogger, I guess. He would just like kind of film a year's update. And this is what's happened to me this year. And next year I'm going to be doing this. And he cut to next year and it's like, oh, I didn't do that. I'm still doing this. And it was really interesting. But that project covered the gamut of formats from Super 8, 16mm, a high 8 VHS, up to like mini DV, to, you know, like just data files. And Premiere had an amazing capacity. You could just put any of that in a timeline and play it. You don't have to render, you don't have to wait, you just put it in. It can be any different frame rate and it just goes, yeah, it says yes, which was great for that project. It means we could move really fast and just keep cutting, and we didn't have to transcode stuff and do big tiresome renders when we had, you know, 100 plus hours of archival to get through. So Premiere was definitely the right tool for that job. And then I just really got into it, and I've just been cutting everything on Premiere since. At the moment, I'm editing a TV series, a 4x1 hour drama series for Australian TV, which then may well sell and become international, but for the moment that's at home. And we're using the Premiere Share projects, the collaborative workflow, which is really great. So I have two assistants, and they're both assembling scenes, and then we're working in the same project, and they would just send me cuts, and I'll respond and talk to them. But when I'm back in Australia, we're in 3 offices, and we're all just working on the same project, and it works really well in terms of I can be cutting in a sequence, and that sequence is then locked for those guys. But as soon as I'm done with it, I unlock it. Then they can get in and move, adjust audio or move that sequence into another sequence, and vice versa. They can assemble scenes, and then they go like, yes, okay, I'm done with that. They unlock it, and then I can go in and see what they've done and work with their footage. And it's been really great. It's a really good tool for multiple people working on one project at one time. For me, when I started studying film, I was just interested in making films. Like I didn't set out to have dual roles. It's just something that evolved. Like I was drawn to shooting stuff and editing stuff. I produce a lot of our work. I've directed a few things. I think all of understanding all the different roles really helps. It's really important in terms of like I can be on a film and understand what the producers, what their headspace is, and what the director needs, and what the sound department wants, and what I'm going to need in the edit. So I find dual hats really useful because I think of myself more as a filmmaker rather than necessarily any of those particular roles. And would I recommend it? Yeah, on that level, I'd recommend it. It is nice just shooting a project and handing it over, and it is nice editing something that someone else has shot because you're kind of surprised. People make choices you wouldn't necessarily make, and you can find beautiful moments that you wouldn't have found or shot yourself. So, and I just find it all just feeds, it all just feeds itself. And any advice, I guess the big thing I've learned editing is no matter what you were trying to achieve or going for on set, when you get into the edit suite, just look at what you actually have and what story can you actually tell with the footage you've got. Sounds really obvious, but sometimes the building blocks you have tell a slightly different story than what you necessarily thought you were going to tell, especially in doc if you're cutting a doc. But even in drama, I would say just be open to what you actually have there in the edit suite and make the best film you can with the material you have.